Welcome to Give a Heck. I am your host, Dwight Heck, and for much of my life, lived my life in quiet desperation, wondering how I was going to pay the bills, take vacations, save for retirement, and one day wondering if I would get off the hamster wheel of life and have purpose. A life that most of society lives, which takes us to work, then home, then repeat, and pays us hopefully enough just to survive. The harsh truth that most live with more month than money and have no idea how to live life on purpose, not by accident. This ensures the mass majority are living not just financially broke, however emotionally and mentally as well due to financial pressures. In each episode, I will introduce you to thoughts, ideas, and guests that can help you to learn how you too can live life on purpose, not by accident. Good day and welcome to Give a Heck. On today's show, I welcome E.A. Csolkovits. E.A. was born in 1956 in Chicago, Illinois. His humble beginnings were that of a son of a milkman. At age 16, he started his business career at a commission sales job selling janitorial services to business owners. At the age of 19, E.A. met Sam Robbins, a millionaire businessman from Detroit, Michigan. Sam took E.A. under his wing and began to mentor him. Over the next 45 plus years, E.A. was blessed with so many business and personal achievements, such as he was a chairman of the House of Holland Jewelers at a young age of 21, started and operated Columbia Nutrition System as well as Delta International, which both involved setting up and overseeing an international workforce of tens of thousands of people. He's also hosted a radio talk show. Some of the other things he has accomplished are he's done advanced training exclusively for presidents and CEOs of businesses. He's been a public speaker, a high-end mortgage business he also owned. He authored a weekly newsletter, which was distributed in 20 countries. With extensive experience in manufacturing, he was able to create, design, invent, and formulate over 75 products in the health and wellness industry and distribute and sell these products to over 20 countries worldwide. Some interesting personal facts about EA. He was a millionaire at the age of 23. And by 33, was making $1 million a year in personal income. He's also the owner of a 1,000-acre wildlife sanctuary, holds his commercial pilot license, plus so much more. EA has created and written courses and books which led to founding of Givers University to teach others worldwide about givers and takers. He is well-researched, selected, scribed, and completed the Givers Codex, which consists of a total of 180 Givers Codes, consisting of 54 Wisdom for Happiness Givers Codes, the 54 Wealth for Freedom Givers Codes, and the 72 Wellness for Greatness Givers Codes. I'd like to welcome you to the show, EA. Thanks so much for agreeing to come on and share with us some of your life journey.
Thank you, Dwight. Thank you for having me on your great podcast. And what's a better name for a podcast than What the Heck? I just love it. So thank you so much for having me on. And even before we started with podcast, you gave me some interesting things about Canada. I got to tell you, I learned some great things about Canada because of my conversation with you already. So
yeah,
thank you. Thank you for having me on your show.
Yes, thank you for coming on. I'm looking forward to this. Canada is a beautiful country. For those, as I think I have listeners now, and last time I checked, 18 countries. I only started my podcast last year. So for those that are listening in Russia, Czechoslovakia, Israel, some of the countries, of course, the US and Canada, Australia. Canada is beautiful. You should come check it out, right? It's a beautiful, beautiful country. So EA, one of the things I focus on, and to me, it's very important, and I think part of my passion for people's origin stories is, as I mentioned prior to you when we were talking before the recording, people are superficial. They want to know, they talk about, what have you accomplished? And they start, they might start after they're done high school or college, university, and they tell a little bit of superficial stuff, and then right up to where they're successful or what, drove them to be an entrepreneur or successful in a career. Not everybody's an entrepreneur, but the origin story for me is so important because it tells me and gives me a snapshot of exactly what led you, what drove you what things happened when you were younger that made you to what you are today. So, could you do me a favor and tell me your origin story? What key things from your childhood to adulthood that to let you are where you are at currently?
Happy to do so. And even if I may share a couple stories along there to
Sure.
answer that question, all the way up to actually how I met my business mentor and how the impact he had on my life. I was born in Chicago. I live in Michigan now, United States, uh, and I lived in an area called Oak Brook. And my father was a distributor. He had his own route, one-man operation for a dairy called Twin Oaks Dairy. And I think, Roy, Dwight, that was my first experience of, that we need to be self-starters because my dad having this milk route, and it was only him. He didn't punch a time clock. He didn't have to show up somewhere and punch in, and I remember him always saying, because at 5 years old, I'd go help him on the milk route. And I remember him always saying, well, if we get done earlier, we're done earlier, and I think that sort of planted in my mind, just a sort of a thought on, that, it's up to us when we get going, and it's up to us to get started and get things going, and we can finish it when we do. And back then, interesting, Dwight, I'm 65 years old now, and this, I was 5 years old back then, born in 56, and milk back then came in glass gallons, and there was a box outside each house. It was the milkman box. And you know what was amazing, Dwight? There was always money in the box, and not one time did anyone ever take the milkman money. Not one single time. No one ever touched the milkman money. I never knew there was money in there, so it was certainly different times, right? So that was my first sort of experience with, even though it was just a one man owning, having his own route, really distributor for this Twin Oaks Dairy in Chicago, a suburb of Chicago. And then at the ripe old age of 16, took my first big step into becoming a success and going my journey of success, and I became a janitor. Now, I didn't mind that because business was always picking up. What? Anyway, so what you ought to be your business picking up. So, but there was two really interesting events that happened, Dwight, while I was a janitor. One was at 16 years old, I was able to be bonded, basically insured. And so if my buffer ever went crazy and hit a piece of equipment, the insurance company would pay for it, right? So because of that, I was also able to be in some very expensive houses. And one of the houses I was in every single Wednesday, because I was able to be bonded, was the house of a lady whose name is June Martino. Now, you may not know the name until I make the movie reference I'm about ready to make. There was a movie out a few years back, still available on streaming, probably will be for a long time. The name of the movie is called The Founder. It's with Michael Keaton. He plays Ray Kroc. I don't know if you're familiar with the movie.
I've seen it. I've seen it 8 times.
Oh, okay. Then you're
It's one of my favorite movies, actually.
You're going to appreciate some of the references then. Yeah. And I lived that experience, Dwight, because I lived in Oak Brook, which was where the world headquarters of McDonald's was. And it was there for decades and decades. It's moved since, but for decades, it was in Oak Brook, Illinois. So June Martino, in the movie, you'll see Michael Keaton constantly talking to this lady outside his office. It's June, 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 June. That lady is the house that I cleaned.
Wow.
That was her. So that was June Martino, right? And at the end of the movie, it even references June Martino and says a little bit about her, as a matter of fact. So every Wednesday, I was cleaning June's house. And here's a $1 million house in a place called Ginger Creek. And, she had a maid and butler. And one of the things that astonished me, Dwight, was up to that point in my life, I thought to be successful, you had to be a jerk. These were people that were me only oriented. They took advantage of people. They pushed other people down. They were condescending for some reason. I don't even know what that was, but that was just what I had in my mind. And she was so the opposite. It wasn't even funny. Totally approachable, never condescending. And she had full-time maids and butlers there, right? And here I am there every Wednesday. I buff the floors and clean the swimming pool and the garage. Love to clean out the garage, by the way, because I got to pull out the Rolls Royce. Here's a car worth, 10 lifetimes of my income, and I'm sitting in it. And my car at that point is a Rolls can hardly, rolls down one hill, can hardly make it up the next. So that, so I'm driving a Rolls can hardly, and here Rolls Royce. But it was amazing to me, Dwight, that people really live this way. And here's this woman who's very approachable, never condescending, and she's happy and she's nice. And I mean, just the opposite of what I thought rich people were. I mean, the total extreme opposite, right? And she would even say hi to me if I was looking down because I was buffing the floor or something, and she'd walk through the room and she'd see me before because I didn't look up because I was looking at the floor and I didn't see her yet. She would say hi to me first. I mean, just that. I'm just that way, just to sort of give you a flavor for it. And the movie, by the way, is very Hollywoodized and dramatized. A lot of those things, there are certain events that happen, but that's Hollywood drama in many, many instances, more often than not.
The message is great, though.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. And his finishing speech, and all that kind of thing. But so here I am, Martino's house. She's an icon. I'm 16 years old, and everyone knows who June is because everyone knows McDonald's, right? And so one day she was in an extra good mood. I thought, this is it. So I mustered up all the courage that a snot-nosed 16-year-old could muster up. And I'm going to go up and ask June Martino a question. So I get my courage up, turn off the buffer. I could tell she's in a good mood. And I went up to her and I said, hi, June. She goes, hi. I mean, just very approachable. That was always astonishing to me. And I said, can I ask you a question? She goes, sure. And I said, could you tell me about it? And she said, well, what? And I said, well, the whole McDonald's thing. I'm not kidding, Dwight. I asked her in the morning. She put her arm around me, brought me in the kitchen, and the entire day in the kitchen told me the entire story from when she worked for Ray as she worked for Ray when he was a milkshake mixer salesman before he even met the brothers, right? The movie identifies that. That's true, right? So she tells me that whole part all the way through all the events up until the moment we're sitting in the kitchen all day. She even has the maids and butlers bringing us food so she can keep telling me the story. And I'm thinking, man, who's she talking to? She's like, there's just a little snot-nosed 16-year-old, and she's like telling me all this stuff, and the whole experience is surreal to me. I just think, why is she telling me this? I never expected it would be that incredible of a response. And then at one time, by the way, they mentioned this part in the movie. This is accurate. She told me about this decades before the movie came out. You remember, Dwight, in the movie, there's a time where June goes to Ray Kroc, Michael Keaton, and says, we don't have any money. We're out of money. And because they're all making less than 2% royalty. And that perpetuates a phone call from Michael Keaton to call the brothers. They have a drama scene argument on the phone. He says, I need more money, slams down the phone, that thing, right? That isn't exactly the way it happened, but the event did happen. So she's telling me about this event decades, before, I'm 16 years old, years ago. So she says, we made an agreement that he wouldn't pay me any money because there wasn't any anyway. He would give me worthless company stock, worth less than zero. And he would take the phone calls from my bill collectors so they wouldn't hound me on the phone. So I just asked her, I said, June, I'm a janitor. I work Friday to Friday. I get my paycheck on Friday. If I don't get my check on Friday, I'm not showing on Saturday. I'm not going to be there. I need that paycheck. Why did you do it? Dwight, she sat back in her chair and did an eye lock on me that I will never forget for my entire life and stared at me. And I realized I had just asked her a question no one had ever asked her. Everyone wanted to know what happened with McDonald's, but no one ever asked why. So I just asked her, why'd you do it? Why'd you work for no money? I mean, he wasn't paying you. I wouldn't do that. I need my paycheck, right? Why'd you do it? So about 10 seconds went by. She's staring at me, and I could tell she's not in the room. She's thinking, right? She's gone. Her mind's gone. And then she spoke, and it made the hair stand up on the back of my neck. And I remember so succinctly what she said, the way she said it, how it made the hair stand up on the back of my neck. And then my immediate mental thought when she said it, when I said, June, why did you do it? Why did you work and not get paid? And Dwight, she told me, because I believed in Ray. And my first thought, Dwight, my instant thought was, that's it. That's what I need. I need a Ray Kroc. Ray Kroc, he obviously taught her everything. It didn't work out too bad for her. And I don't even know, as a burnt out son of a milkman, burnt out janitor, my fun time is getting free songs on a jukebox at 2 o'clock in the morning when I clean bowling alleys. I need a Ray Kroc. I need someone to teach me. I didn't even know what a mentor was, let alone spell it, because I think I spent all my hooked on phonics money, and something else. I'm thinking I need to, I need to learn. I know I don't know what I need to know. I don't even know what it is, but I need a Ray Kroc. That's it. And I felt like I had just gotten the answer of all answers. And so I threw it out there, and Dwight inadvertently, ignorantly, partially impetuously, I threw it out there and said, where's my Ray Kroc? I need one. And I didn't realize how important that was right there. How I tripped over and stumbled over the exact right question. Later on, my business mentor taught me, don't worry about the answers. He said, everyone looks for the answers. He said, it's wrong. It's the wrong approach. He said, the answers are there. They always will be there. They're always there. He said, focus on the right question. Right question will always get you the right answer. And he said, and the same with our lives, because our lives are like self-fulfilling prophecies. Most people continuously ask the wrong question, and then our lives answer it, and we're surprised when we get the answer we didn't want. And the question was wrong to begin with. So he taught me to focus on the right questions. Inadvertently, Dwight, I had, not even knowing I did it, tripped on, I just threw it out there. Where's my Ray Kroc? I know he's out there somewhere. That was it. And then all of a sudden, it wasn't 2 or 3 months later, at the same janitorial service, I'm talking with the boss late at night. His name was Jerry. I'd already punched out. Back then, as a janitor, when you punched out, you felt like you really wanted to punch out, because you hated it. Janitor, give me a break. So I'd already punched out. I'm tired. It's the end of the day. It's nighttime. It's after dinner already, and the phone rings. The owner, Jerry, picks it up, talks for a few minutes, hangs up the phone. He said, some guy's in from Detroit, and he's opening a diamond store, and he wants to see some carpeting. He needs to see it tonight because he's going back to Detroit tomorrow. I said, okay, what's that got to do with me? He said, well, I need you to go. I said, going? First time I said no. We're going to count my nose. I said, no, I'm not going. Jerry, I'm tired. I've been cleaning all day. And I'm spent. I'm physically exhausted. He said, no, I need you to go. He said, you got to show him the carpeting. I said, Jerry, I'm not going. Second, no. I said, I don't know anything about carpeting. You know that. I can clean it. I can vacuum it. I said, I don't know how to bid out a carpet job. He said, well, I'll just give you one of these wheels and walk this way and call me on the phone. And I said, Jerry, no, I'm not doing it. I'm sorry. I'm punched out and done. Third, no. He said, I'll tell you what. If you'll go, I'll give you your pick of any Saturday you want off. Now, for a janitor, Dwight, that's a huge negotiation chip because we clean while businesses are closed. So Saturday morning to night, we're cleaning all day. So I wanted to make sure my ears didn't trick me with what I just heard. And I asked, so I repeated it. And I said, any Saturday I want off? And he said, any Saturday. And I said, okay, Jerry, I'll go. So I throw samples in the back of my car, my Rolls Canardly. And so here I go. Now, setting the stage for your listeners. I don't want to go. Physically, I'm exhausted. I've been cleaning all day long. Emotionally, I'm tired. I'm not doing this because of my boss. I don't care about the janitorial service. Who cares about that? It's always going to be there. People are going to make messes. Yeah. I'm not doing it because this guy is in from Detroit. Seriously? You got to be kidding me. Okay. So all of these things, I have all these no's going through my mind. Little do I know, I'm getting ready to meet the man that will change the trajectory of my life forever. I'm getting ready to meet, unbeknownst to me, my Ray Kroc, the man who will become the father I never had, even though I had a father. And I will become his son, the son he never had, even though he had a son. This is my Ray Kroc, and I'm doing everything saying no over and over again. So here I am. I meet him. So I share with your listeners, first of all, be aware, observe those moments in time that seem so insignificant, seemingly on the edge of a dime. It seems so small at the moment that will bring about the biggest events in your life in ways that you will not comprehend. And this was one of them for me. So here I am, and I meet this man. And Dwight, have you ever met someone where the moment you meet them, you feel there's such a great comfort level, like you've already known them before? Have you ever, like, you're immediately talking to a friend of yours and you don't even know why? Have you ever had that like immediate huge rapport?
Yeah, 31 years ago when I met my first mentor that put me on the trajectory of wanting to actually be an entrepreneur. I had dreamt about it, but actually gave me guidance to be my own entrepreneur. So yes, sat in a room with him, snot-nosed kid, needed a job. He only hired women for the position. And I just said to him, listen, you got to give me a break. And he said, okay, I'll hire you to do this position that normally women do. Why? It wasn't because it was a female versus male. It was they had the tenacity, I guess, to put up with working in a monitoring station. That's what it was for alarms and security guards. And literally, he sent me on a trajectory. But I knew the moment I sat down and felt comfortable with him, right? $1,000 suit, fancy watch, rings, all this stuff, very wealthy. Yeah, so I know exactly what you're talking about. That connection did definitely exist, and I'm still friends with that gentleman today.
Isn't that something? So I guess you could say when you met your mentor, it was alarming. So they,
Good one. That's good. Yes, it was. It was alarming.
So, those are really such great experiences in our life, And so I met this gentleman, and this great rapport. And he asked, and as I'm leaving, I mean, by the way, the carpeting was a no sale. We only had like carpeting for offices, and he wanted something real plush, for a diamond store. And they were doing this whole build out. So the carpeting was a no sale. I'm putting the samples back in the car after a couple hours. And this is at night, by the way. I mean, the phone call came in the office at night. So this is mid-evening now, right? And so as I'm leaving, he offers me a job. He said, why don't you come work for me? And I said, no. Again, another no. And I said, no, I don't know anything about diamonds. He said, I'll teach you. And I said, I don't know anything about diamonds. All I know is, one, they're expensive. And number two, someday a woman's going to ask me for one. That's all I know about diamonds, right? He says, no, come and work for me. And I said, no, I'm all set. I'm a janitor. My future's all had. People can make messes and I can pick it up and clean it up. I'm all set. So I didn't know I was actually talking to a true genius, and not the IQ baloney genius, but I mean the genius in human engineering kind of genius that can ask 3 questions and get you totally pegged. Really know the person already. I mean, that kind of level of intuition and understanding. And so he knew what he was about ready to say was going to grind me. He knew it, and of course I had no idea he was going to do that. So as I'm walking out the door, Dwight, he says, I'm leaving, right? I'm leaving. I said no again. He said, what do you have to lose? You can always go back being a janitor. I thought, oh, no, I'm all set. And I left. What do I said? No, 6 times now, right? So I'm leaving. And as I'm driving, it's grinding me. It's almost midnight now, right? And it's grinding. I get halfway home. And at this halfway home, now it's really bugging me. And I'm like, what's he got in mind? What does he mean? He's right. I could go back being a janitor. So I turned the car around. I thought, oh, he's going to be gone. He's going to leave in the morning, so he's already gone. I go back up. He's still there. I said, what do you have in mind? So anyway, offers me a job. We start talking. For the next 4 months, I'm in Chicago. He's in Detroit. I get in the car at 4 a.m, Friday night, Saturday morning, drive 301 miles, I know the exact mileage, drive all the way to Detroit, have a 6-hour meeting with him, and drive all the way back to Chicago in the same day, every single weekend for 4 months in a row, and never missed a weekend. I did not know at that point he was testing me if I was really serious about all the things that I had said. But I wanted it. Dwight, I genuinely realized I didn't know what I needed to know. And I didn't even know where to begin. I didn't even know what I didn't know. I was that far son of a milkman, burnt out janitor. And every moment with him. So for the 6 hours driving up there, I would ponder all the questions. I had to wear him down because he must have felt like he was getting hit with a machine gun with my questions for 6 hours, because I had 6 hours of practice them all the way up there. And then driving back, I would ponder all of his answers. And I was doing self-improvement at that point, not even realizing it, because here's someone who, in my mind, he was rich and happy, what I wanted, not realizing, Dwight, I even had that backwards. We should be happy and then rich. But in my teens, it's all about the money, right? So, I want to make the money. And so all of these great experiences. And then to finish that story off with my mentor, when I was 19, I asked him point blank. I said, Sam, will you teach me everything? I mean, all of it. Do not hold back anything. Teach it all to me. And he said, okay, I will. But I want one thing from you. And I want to let you know, whatever he said next, I was going to say yes. I was in total yes mode, right? He said, this is what I want from you. When the time is right, and you will know that time, I want you to teach as many people as you can everything I've taught you. So at 19 years old, I made a vow. I made an oath. I made a commitment to my mentor that today is manifest as what we call Givers University.
That's amazing. It's your journey is literally, they should do a movie about it. it's quite and you're a great storyteller. I already knew that prior from listening to other conversations you've had with people. I like the fact you talked about the milkman, because I'm not, I'm literally 10 years younger than you, but we still had milk. We didn't have the milk crate. We had milk chutes, right?
Oh,
we had the little milk, and the milk would be put in there. And then from the inside, my mom would say, hey, it'd be early in the morning, milkman's come, go get the milk. And I didn't go outside, opened it up, took out the milk, and my mom would leave the money in there, and never ever had it stolen as far as I can recall either. So there's definitely, it made me smile. A lot of what you talked about, in our connection with the McDonald's story. A lot of people don't know that movie. I just happened to have my mentor that I was telling you about reached out to me and said, you need to watch this movie. And after you've watched it at least 3 times, then we'll talk. Right. So I bought the movie.
Oh, great. Good for you.
Yeah. I actually own it on my Apple box and my iTunes movies or whatever.
Yeah.
But I've seen it about 8 times. It is phenomenal. The little things, even when I watch it again, the little nuggets of information that I thought I'd gotten, but now I don't know if you can agree with this or not. We interpret everything in our lives, whether it's movie, auditory, visual, reading, or whatever, a conversation, depending on what our 6 inches is and where we are in a hamster wheel of life. Are we caught? So we interpret things differently. So I think every time I've watched that movie, I've been at a different headspace. It may sound weird, but it's a reality. So I interpret that movie differently every time I watch it. I haven't watched it in a couple of years because that movie came out in 2017, I think, 4 years ago. Great movie though. I like how you're a great storyteller. An amount of no's, and then all of a sudden how your brain pivoted and went to yeses, and your thirst for what you didn't even realize was personal development was growing, and your tenacity to drive 301 miles for 4 months. Like, that's just amazing. I can't, for the listeners, I can't imagine if that was today, you'd sure get through a lot of podcasts, a lot of Audible books with all that driving.
Yeah, right? None of that was there. You had AM, FM radio and 8-track tapes.
Yes, and I remember the old 8 tracks, but I don't think even Florence Nightingale at that time had 8 tracks out. You could get his stuff on vinyl. Remember there?
Earl Nightingale.
Earl Nightingale. Pardon me.
Yeah.
Ray was listening to his album in the
Yeah, Strangest
in the
Secret,
hotel room.
Strangest Secret, and all the classics, the classics, the classics.
Yeah. Well, really, in essence, as a definite side note, anything that all these motivational, inspirational coaches get is all regurgitated information. They just learn how to deliver it at a way that you can keep pace and you can understand. Because for me, everything comes from, God. Everything comes from, a lot of the references of what we get taught. You can find references to being there in the Bible, right? For at least for me and my Christian faith. So, I really appreciate everything you shared. It's just, yeah, I love that. You literally, where's my Ray Kroc? That is going to stick with me. That is such a great thing for anybody that's listening. Ask yourself, where is your Ray Kroc? Where is your person that can inspire you, can lift you out of the doldrums of where your mind's currently at, that's willing to teach you how to level up and grow? And unfortunately, most people, I think you mentioned that too. The answers are there. It's the questions, right? It's the questions are where we need to worry about, not necessarily the answers. There's people all around you, listeners, people that are watching this on my YouTube channel that are willing to help you out, have probably dropped nuggets or giving you hints that they're willing to help you out. And you're just so locked into your mindset that you say no, just as EA did, whatever, 6 times, right? Until all of a sudden the universe, for me though, it would be God, just said, hey, you know what? Settle down, listen, and just be present. And then look what you did over your lifetime. And you still have a lot of life left. I can't imagine what you're going to accomplish over the next 20, 30, who knows, 40 years. There's lots of life left to live, lots more people to help. So from the ages 16 to 19, you went from working in janitorial, as we talked about, for a business, to working for Sam, the millionaire businessman from Detroit that you met just by possibly, helping him buy carpet, which is just an amazing story. Can you share with us the story more, more of the story of what you learned from the point past when you met Sam and you did all that driving? What did it actually teach you for developing the Givers University, and how has that propelled people forward? Like, if you can share any stories of some really intimate details of a success that helped because of what Sam taught you and your development of that university.
Yes, for sure. And also, if I may, certainly I'd be happy to, and thank you for allowing me to be able to share that. If I can also digress for a moment, comment on a few of the comments you made. In Ecclesiastes, what does it say? That which has been done is that which what will be done. There's no new thing under the sun. And the answers are always there. The answers are always there for us. And that's where he taught me, always look at the question. He said, and one of the things he also shared with me, he says, if you want to know what's going to happen next, look in the past. And if you want to see what's going to happen way in the future, look way in the past. He said, it's the same. He said, it'll be repackaged. It'll have a little twist on it. It'll look a little bit differently. I remember, you and I are talking about when milk was delivered to the home and all of a sudden it wasn't. And now everything's delivered to the home because of the COVID thing in the last year. Groceries and milk and everything, it's a delivery services all over the place. What is it? Came back again. So all these things, it's extraordinary when we get that vantage point. And to your point to be able to share with your listeners, I should have really warned everyone in the beginning. I never say anything in 10 minutes if I can say it in 20. So I like it.
I love it. I don't have a problem with a long origin story. Yeah. I mentioned that to you, though. The whole conversation could just be about your origin and nothing else. Because really, this is a calling card, a business card. Every podcast, and you've been on so many, as you mentioned, is another calling card to reach out to somebody else's audience to help them, give them hope, right? And people need that in this world, right? So the more you tell it, the better the story. Like, even if it's a regurgitation, that's the 3rd time you've done it today, it doesn't matter, because each segment of the population is going to listen to a different podcast, and they're going to hear the story that you say. And I think the thing that resonates the most with me about UEA is your passion, your energy, relaying the story. I felt present in all of it. And that is such an amazing gift. So thank you for that. I really
Thank you so
appreciate
much.
that.
And to share with you, I must fulfill my oath.
Yeah.
I must. And
Yeah.
and I
That you
know,
made at 19. You made that
yeah.
at 19. Most 19-year-olds they're too busy partying on the weekends and dealing with their hangovers, let alone making an oath to teach the
Yeah.
world how to be better.
Well,
That's
and the blessings and what's interesting about that, I really genuinely believe that as I continue to fulfill that oath, the blessings keep coming, and because I'm fulfilling it, and it will continue, and I believe Sam's looking over my shoulder, helping me every day, and because of that, the blessings that I've had and the experiences of being able to share with people, and one more person, and I never know the next person I shared the information with that was shared to me. It wasn't mine. I didn't make it up. I'm a conduit, and one of the things Sam taught me is I conduit.
yeah.
you know
Yeah.
and
Well, and
so
you're a conduit though, but you've also you have your own panaz, you have your own style and your own energy, and as I mentioned, passion. So everything's repackaged. We talked about that. Everything comes back full circle from the milk to pandemic things being delivered again,
yeah,
clothing styles from the 70s coming back into fashion, like bell bottom pants and stuff like that. I've seen it in the last decades. And we're people that, like you said, we look way back into the past, we can see the future. I like how you put that too, by the way. That's phenomenal way of thinking about it. The only difference though, one other thing I want to state though, is listeners, a lot of people that look back in the past look at the past as a wrong. They don't look at it as a life lesson, as a stepping stone. And that's what creates depression. They get depressed because they look at the past, they look at their current situation, they don't see evolvement or them leveling up or climbing, and they're in that hamster wheel. They're constantly spinning and spinning and spinning. So if you look at the past, realize you need to actually peel back all the layers of all the garbage that may have happened, and you can always find something good that's happened in the past that can help you see the future, as you mentioned. So I really like that. I appreciate that. So let's
if I can
talk.
expand on that,
Sure, go ahead.
and then to answer your question, again with that 10-minute, 20-minute
That's
thing.
okay.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
okay. It doesn't matter.
One of the things that my business mentor taught me was that two things in particular that come to mind. One, he said, every adversity, not some, not a few, not once in a while, every adversity carries with it the seed of an equal or a greater benefit. And he said, so eliminate the word failure from your life, from your vocabulary. He said, stop saying the word failure because it has too much of an eternal ring to it. He said, supplant those words with the words temporary defeat. Number one, now I've reframed it as temporary. It's not eternal. And number two, it's just a defeat. He said, it's like getting tackled on the football field. When you stand up, you'll realize you got a first down. You're not out of the game. He said, when you say failure, you're throwing yourself out of the game. Don't throw yourself out. He said, stay in the game. So he taught me how to reframe things as they happen. And then as a part of that, he said, here's the part that will really get you. And I'm going to share with you what he shared with me that's going to probably bake the noodles of some of your listeners. When we really begin to understand what I just said, that every adversity carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. When we move aside those leaves and we see that and find that seed, we now, as wisdom begins to unveil itself to us, we begin to realize that at some point we can now begin to, and here it comes, welcome temporary defeat and embrace it when it happens. Because when we begin through wisdom to understand what temporary defeat means to us, we are learning, and we have learned that under those leaves are those seeds that will bring us to the next level, that when things are working good, we will never get there. We need the seeds. We need the seeds that only come from those temporary defeats. So when we begin in our mind to reframe what failure means, and now it's not failure, but it's a temporary defeat, and actually it's a gift, it's a blessing, it's a seed that now allows us to go in the next step up. Now we can embrace it. Our fears are eliminated because there's nothing to be fearful of. I'm not afraid of failure anymore because there isn't anymore. It's a temporary defeat. And when it does, I'm going to welcome it. And it's a blessing and it's a gift, because under those leaves are the things I need for the next step to answer the questions I've asked. We have been given by God this great freedom of choice. And part of that choice is our ability to think our own thoughts. A part of that also is our ability to frame events in our life and think those thoughts. We have over 1,000 self-talk events every day, every single day in our own mind. In a quiet way, we talk with ourselves. And those events of how we frame them and how we label them will have a huge impact on how we interact with these events in our life, and whether we grow on them or whether we stumble them. So by asking the wrong question all the time, people always get the wrong answer, and then they're surprised when they get the answer. Our lives are, in fact, become self-fulfilling prophecies through our freedom of choice. Our freedom of choice of question, our freedom of choice of framing and labeling. We get to decide how we want to label and frame any event, circumstance. My business mentor shared with me, he said, you always want to be in a responsive mode. Don't react. And he used the example. He said, with the medical community, he said, if you were getting a medical treatment, the doctor came out and said, they're reacting. He said, that's not good. They're reacting to whatever the treatment is, right? It's not a good thing. He said, but if they say they're responding to it, he said, that means they're doing better. He said, always have your intellect control your emotion. When your intellect controls your emotion, you are in responsive mode. That's where you want to be. When your emotions are controlling your intellect, you are in reaction mode. You don't want to be there. Nothing good's going to come out of that. He said, so always have your intellect control your emotions. Be a responsive person, not a reactive person. And he also said then, as a giver, and this one's really interesting. He said, people don't understand being a giver. He said, when you're a giver, people are going to take advantage of you. He said, expect it. He said, but here's the part no one understands, and they don't get the second half. It's not taught. When you're a giver, people will take advantage of you, but you are never diminished because they did. They're diminished, not you. So he said, when you're a giver, people will take advantage of you. He said, expect it, but you're not diminished because they did. And he said, you will get that back from another person, from another event, from another business relationship, from another business deal. He said, we have these beautiful, amazing scales in our life of, on one side is this services and on the other side, rewards. He said, you can also call the services part giving and the reward part receiving. He said, and this scale strives every day to be in perfect balance. He said, what you want to do is do your best every day of your life of putting that scale out of balance by putting so much on the giving side that when that scale forces itself to balance out, you'll get 1,000-fold on the receiving side. He said, so don't worry about the receiving side. He said, you just worried about put that scale out of balance every day of your life, and you build up that left side, the other side, where it's the giving side, with everything you can, pile it on every day, and you watch how that comes back. And I can share with you, he was 1,000% correct.
Oh, absolutely. My whole brand that I created a year ago with some help with mentors of Give a Heck is about giving. I've been a person my whole life that gives. And until I come to a place in my life, and it would have been 19, 20 years ago, where I realized instead of getting butt hurt of giving and having energy vampires and people taking so much from me and feeling drained, until I changed my mindset and how I looked at stuff, my life didn't, I was on that hamster wheel of life. And it was an evolution of realizing that the more I give, enough comes back, right? I will be taken care of. God appreciates us because I think about people are always, I wish somebody was out there to help me, and they're praying their prayers. They'll pray to God, I want some help. I want some guidance. I want this and that. And people will be around them shouting at the rooftops, I'll help you. And people don't, they're looking for answers back to what we were talking about. They don't see the fact that there's actually a solution. They're not solution orientated. They're too reactive. And it was just, I had an epiphany one day, and, quit feeling sorry for yourself. So yes, you've given to, and in my business, let's say I give it to 10 people and I might get 3 results, right? And most people are focused on the negative. Well, what about that 70%? They don't appreciate the fact that they've actually right now at this moment in time in the present helped 3 families live life on purpose, not by accident. And when I changed and pivoted my mindset in the first few years of getting into finance and coaching people, all of a sudden the 3 that I'd get would satiate and pay my bills and keep my family and I safe and happy, roof over our head. The other 7 were the ones that I was most passionate about. Why? Because I was helping them live life on purpose, get out of debt, learn how to goal set for a future. They didn't know how to goal set for tomorrow, let alone a week, a month, a year, 10 years from now, retirement. And I started seeing more shift in my business. So all of a sudden now those 7 people that maybe couldn't do anything with me, maybe 3, 4 of them would tell their friends about me. Guess what? Do you think some of those friends were people that I could actually do business with, continue to satiate and create that perpetual motion in my business? And it's been that way for 19 years. So when I shifted my mindset, listeners, to understanding that giving is all I want to do, and those that take advantage of me giving and whatever, they're going to fall off naturally. They'll be the ones that will hit a fork in the road, and I'll go this way continuing to give, and they'll drive off a cliff. They're going to do it to themselves, because some people, I hate saying this because not everybody agrees with me, some people are beyond help. They're just, no matter what I do or you do, we can't get through to them for them to help themselves. So it's not even about me helping them. They got to accept that they need help. They got to accept the fact that somebody is going to, give to them, serve them, lift them up, and move forward. Right.
That's a good point. And in fact, many times cliches are cliches, not always, but many times cliches are cliches because they're true. And one of them is a person changed against their will is of the same opinion still. And they have to they want to be able to change. And to that point, if I can share a little bit about, as an extension of what you had said about what my business mentor taught me, it actually brings about what we teach at Givers University now. And that is as follows. If I was to ask your listeners, think about the fires that you stomp out every day. Think about when your stress level spikes and goes straight up every day. Think about the conversations you have that at the end of the conversation, you barely remember what you talked about, but you do know one thing for sure, you have no more energy left. They just drained it all from you. All 3 of those scenarios, Dwight, have one thing in common. There's a name attached to them. So what we teach people, and we teach something, and I do 1 to 3 interviews a day, and I can share with you, everyone says this is simply not being taught, and it needs to be taught. And that is, we teach people how to discern in their relationships. First, I say to your listeners, we love everybody. I say emphatically, we love everybody. And we teach at Givers University how to separate the person who we love from their deeds, which we may not love. And we teach how to discern by watching for things people do, not what they say, but what they actually do. Not using broad, innocuous swaths of information where you say, wow, that sounded really good. What do I do with that? But I mean, sifting it actually down, which we've done, to the actual deeds. These are the things you should watch for that they're doing. And when you see these things, begin to discern and think, should I pull this person closer into my life, become a part of my givers community, which we all want to build around us, because givers bring with them the 3 W's of a giver: wisdom, wealth, and wellness. Or when I see them doing these certain deeds, should I begin to respectfully not nasty or rude or insensitive, but respectfully begin to distance myself, because takers bring with them the 3 Ds of a taker, which is defeatism, disruption, and destruction. And if I allow them to come closer into my life without respectfully distancing myself, I am about ready to become an unwilling, unwitting participant in collateral damage. And I'm going to be stomping out fires not of my making. So here's the thing. I'm a self-improvement guy. You're a self-improvement guy. I'm sure a lot of your listeners are. I love self-improvement. But no one's teaching us, how about the other guy? What if he's not doing it right? What should I do then? What if the other guy's not doing it right? And how will that impact my life if I'm stomping out fires he brought to me? Where's my productivity? It just went down because now I'm stomping out fires instead of producing results. What happened to my stress? It went up instead of went down. What happened to my energy level? I want to have people around me that are giving me energy and I'm giving them energy back. And we're building each other up. I don't want to be drained every day and just have people that you just feel at the end of the conversation, you go, oh boy, here, everyone's had that. Oh, here they come again. You dread them walking towards you, right?
Or you can't wait till they walk away.
Yeah, the kind
or
of
hang up the phone or whatever.
The kind of person, Dwight, that brightens up a room by leaving it.
Oh, yeah.
So we teach how to discern. I was blessed to become a commercial pilot and to fly my own planes in the past. And one of the first things my instructor taught me when I was getting my private ticket was we sat in a plane. He said, when you look out the window, this is what you want to see. He said, when you see other planes, you always want to see the plane. You never want to see the plane go from there to there while you're watching it. He says, that means it's kept coming at you. And he said, the closure rate might be 600 knots. It's going to happen really fast. He said, what you want to see when you're looking at other planes is you want to see the plane like that. And then as you're watching it, it goes like this. That means it's moving farther away. So what we teach people, Dwight, is the plane. Look
tattoo.
Look at the relationship in advance. Discern, watch the deeds, and begin to discern, who should I have around me? And who shouldn't I be? Who should I be respectfully distancing? Now, in that same note, when we say giver, we're not labeling people. We don't label people. We label deeds. So when I say giver, I say I'm labeling giver deeds. When I say taker, I'm labeling taker deeds. And when someone's a taker, they're not eternally a taker. We even teach in our third course, which is called the Giver's Lifelong Learning, we have something that we call the data reset, DATA, which stands for declare and turn around. Wow. Declare and turn around. It's called data reset. And we teach people how to move from being takerish to more giverish by declaring and turning around and going in the right direction. We actually teach them a methodology of how to do that so that they can be in giver mode in as much of their life, because it's so easy I've been in taker mode. It's easy to get there. But if you understand it and you realize it, we can get back on the beam and use techniques that can be taught. So discerning in relationships in a world where businesses are opening and closing faster than ever before. Products are antiquated, Dwight, overnight by new products. What do we have left? Our relationships. And no one's teaching us, how do we discern those relationships? It's all look in the mirror, and I'm for looking in the mirror. And everything we teach has a self-assessment part to it automatically built in. But what about the other guy? How should I be selective with those people? Because we need to be selective, because they will have a direct impact on our productivity. They will have a direct impact on our stress level, and they will have a direct impact on our energy every single day by simply learning to discern. So we say at Givers University, givers earn 3 times more because givers discern 3 times more.
I love that. One of the things that you and I heard this in one of the podcasts, you talked about wordsmithing, and I coach on that all the time about how words are so important. And you talked about discern in your relationships. I use the word associations, and people are, and I don't use the word associations in the extent of just people. Where in your life are your associations? When you wake up in the morning until you go to bed, what have you associated with? What are you watching? What are you reading? Who are you communicating with? Everything to me is associations. Once I got past the fact that associations just isn't the fact that EA and I are communicating, we know one another, we're association, driven at this moment. What have I done prior to this? I had a gratitude exercise, right? A couple hours ago, right? A few hours ago now, when I got up, I do a gratitude exercise. I go through a specific routine to level up my mindset, right? During the day today, when I leave to go to an appointment, I've got a book that I'm listening to. I will put that on Audible while I'm driving, or I'll be listening to a podcast. Everything for me is association, because if I don't learn to associate with all good things in life, even if I have good people in my life, if I'm watching shitty movies or TV or reading crap books or listening to music that is, brings you down, doesn't lift you up. I find that associations and everything is what people have to. So we're on the same wavelength, definitely, but it's wordsmith, and we just use different words. So some of the things that I've written down with my notes, I'm going to steal and interject into my
and I didn't make them up, so they are generic, my friend. And it was interesting you say that. I was talking with a gentleman a few days back, and he said, "You know what? That's exactly right. And I just read this book, and it says we have to surround ourselves with 5 good people." And I said, "You're right. You should surround yourself with 5 good people." One question: which 5? And all of a sudden, there was this blank look on his face. I said, "You get my point?" I said, "No one's teaching us how do you discern those 5? What do you look for?" So we have.
I asked the questions, to people to find out their associations, and then I make a decision whether or not we're going to have a long-term relationship, or if they're going to be a person I can't wait till they leave the room and then the sun comes back up.
Exactly. We've actually developed genuine checklists, actual checklists. That way, by the way, we want to give them to your listeners absolutely free. They're freebies. We want them to have it because it's going to impact their life. They can, real simple, just as a side reference, they can go to our website, sign up for the newsletter. It's giversuniversity.com, plural, giversuniversity.com. On every page, it's, on the website, they just, to sign up for our newsletter. Newsletter is absolutely free once a week. They will pound their email. But one of the things they'll get right away is, first they'll get an email that says, confirm, because we're not spammers. So we want to make sure they confirm their email that, yes, I want this. And they will immediately get a download that's called, and the title of it is The 6 Arrows That Takers Shoot at Givers. And these 6 arrows, it's an actual checklist, and people look at it and they go, "Oh, this is really good." Because givers don't realize they're walking around and they're being shot by takers, and they don't even realize they're bleeding. But at the end of the day, when they put their head on their pillow, they don't realize how they just feel like a sucked out orange. There's nothing left because of energy. And then a couple of days later, Dwight, and this is one of the best things, we're going to give them the 25 do's. We call it the 25 do's. It's a 2-page checklist. We want them to download it, put it in their pocket, use it to discern. These are the 25 deeds to look for, not their words. These are the 25 deeds you look for and watch people doing. And when you see them doing these things, you can now begin to discern, should I pull them in closer, or should I be respectfully distancing because of what they're going to about ready to make me collateral damage, and I'm going to be stomping out fires that are not of my making. So these are actual, genuine, usable, filtered all the way down tools that they can put in their relationship toolbox on how they discern who they should and should not have in their life based on their deeds, not what they have said. Because one of the things we say at Givers University is as follows: my talk talks and my walk talks, but my walk talks louder than my talk talks.
Yeah, basically, that's a mouthful.
Basically, and don't try to say that with peanut butter and crackers. It's not crackers. So and by the way, that wasn't the first time I said it on practice. So I want to say that, but the point is that our deeds speak louder than our words. Our deeds really say the truth, right? Because people can learn. People can learn the right things to say. They can wordsmith or put a twist on things, I should say. So We've sifted it and filtered it all the way down to where you can no longer say, what do I look for? Because here it is. Here's the actual checklist of discerning who you want to bring closer in your life that's going to enhance your life and you can enhance theirs, and who you should be respectfully distancing because of what they will bring with them. And today we need to be discerning. So we teach discernment. That's what we teach.
That's amazing. I appreciate that. I'll make sure all that's in the show notes for them to easily access your website, your social media, and put in there about the 6 arrows and the 25 do's on your 2-page checklist. So, EA, if you had to give our listeners one last closing message, what would you tell them in regards to giving a heck and never giving up?
In fact, you've said the perfect words. It's the 3 words, the 3 phrases that my business mentor shared with me. And he said, say this every day. Do not let a day go by where you don't say this. And I've shared it with many people, and I can share with you it's had a huge impact on me. This is what he taught me to say. I will never give up. I will keep rising up, and I will always overcome.
Yeah, it is so true though. What we think and what we say expands in our mindset. And people hear about affirmations, they hear about all these different things, and sometimes it's just as simple as just telling yourself that, like you said, I'll never give up, I'll rise up, I'll overcome, right? It's just something simple like that. And your brain, one last comment, as the listeners, I've talked about it before, our brain doesn't know the difference between a truth and a lie. So you have to always tell yourself truth and repeat it over and over again, because it's so easy, because of our associations, to get sucked back. So some of the things that EA talks about, I would highly suggest you go do those steps, because you want to discern and you want to find out the people that you can know, like, and trust and have a lifelong relationship, and get past the superficial. Look for people's actions to prove to you that they are genuine. Don't listen to always their words, what they put in print or what they speak, because people can be a facade. They really can be. And I'm so personally tired of superficial people. And my community or my associations are people such as you. And I continue to develop and level up and grow because I add more great people into my circle, and I become part of their circle, where we overlap and we continue to level up and touch other people in a way that they've never realized they could be. Because there's somebody listening to us right now that feels helpless. There's always one person, and that's all I want to do, is ensure that that one person listening to the sound of my voice and yours knows that there's better things that they can do, right? And they can reach out to you. Sure.
Right there. I mean, that's a great point. And I would share with the listeners, maybe you have someone in your family that's being a little takerish, and you love them. You love them. You don't want to hurt their feelings, but you know they're being takerish and the conversation needs to take place. How do you do it? And they may have been wondering about this sometime. You know, one of the best things they can do, Dwight, is share a podcast called What the Heck? And here's why. Here's why they should do it. It's a great third-party reference. All they have to do is simply say, you know what? I heard a really thought-provoking podcast. I mean, they were talking about things that don't get talked about and they need to be talked about. It was very interesting and made me think. Do me a favor, listen to it. Let me know what you think. Tell me what you think about it. By using the third party, being a giver and sharing What the Heck podcast with others, you never know. You may open up their mind. They may open up their mind, and you may end up stomping out one less fire because you were a giver and you shared What the Heck podcast with them. So one of the best things you could do is share this podcast with others, and specifically even those that are being a little takerish, because it's a great way to broach the subject and get their minds to open up, and they're the beneficiary of it.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. And yeah, I've done that for a long time. It works with outside of podcasts too, with good books or whatever. The problem is no matter how much the listeners recommend this to somebody that's a taker in their life, family or whatever, I find that unless their 6 inches is ready to receive any form of information, they won't listen to it anyway, right? It's my own family. I know that none of them are we listening to this except for my one daughter. Bottom line, it's only going to help who is willing, right? So I, in my life, at this point in stage of my life, and you may concur, I'm looking only for the willing. And all it can take is they've had that defeatist day or week or year, especially with the pandemic. And, so I got into podcasting because I'm looking for one person that I can ignite that spark that's kind of flickering in their eyes so that they can get taught by people such as you, connect with you, utilize your services. Not that I don't have services, but, we all communicate differently. We all connect differently, and not everybody's going to relate to me. They may not even like me, but they like the guests I bring on, right?
I love it.
Right?
Yes.
So,
For sure.
I appreciate that. So our time is almost up. You mentioned a few things about, how to get a hold of you, and I want to respect my listeners' time, but can you remind them quickly? Because some people will never go to the show notes, right? How can they reach you easily?
Just go to real simple. Go to giversuniversity.com. And and on any website or on any of the pages, they'll see they can sign up for our newsletter. Just put in their first name and email address. It's absolutely free. And like I said, they'll get a confirmation email. We want to make sure, otherwise they won't get the download because we don't spam. So we make sure, unless they say, yes, I want this, we don't formally add them on our list. But they'll get the download right away, and then we'll nurture them. And over time, we walk our talk. We're givers. We like to be able to invest in people. We're working at making sure that giving side of the scale, we're loading it up to our maximum ability every day. And so they're going to get a lot of tools and a lot of usable relationship skills and tools that are really going to help them significantly in their life. So thank you, Dwight, for having me on your great podcast. God bless you, and I appreciate everything that you do.
Yeah, God bless you too. So thanks so much for being on Give a Heck, EA. I appreciate your time and sharing some of your experiences so that others too can learn it is never too late to give a heck. Thank you for taking time out of your day and listening to Give a Heck. If you find value, I'd appreciate you sharing with your friends and family so they too can learn how to live life on purpose, not by accident. So you do not miss the next episode, please subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, and please also post a review. I look forward to reading your comments. This has been Dwight Heck. If you want to check out other podcast episodes or today's show notes, please check out my website, giveaheck.com. And until next time, together let us all strive to give a heck.